Welcome everybody to the Coalition for Marriage YouTube channel. It's such a privilege today to have with us Felix Ngole, who some of you will know of. And I almost feel like opening the windows and telling the whole street, hey everyone, we've got Felix Ngole, come and listen, because it's such a joy to have him with us. Felix, would you like to say hello to everyone?
Hello everyone, it's good to be with you.
It's a real privilege to have you with us too, Felix. Well, Felix, if it's okay, what I'll just do, in my words, I'll explain what I think happened, and then you can tell me about more about your story. So as far as I understand it, you were doing a social work course when all of a sudden somebody had dug up a Facebook post where somebody had been talking about same-sex marriage, and you just happened to say you didn't agree with same-sex marriage. And as a result of that, the short and the long of it was you were kicked off your course. And then you took the university to court, and the court found that they were unjustified because you were a perfectly good, objective, potential student, potential scholar, potential professional who was going to behave completely objectively, and they were completely unjustified in sending you off your course.
You've covered everything.
And so you went through an awful time. Thinking back now, can you tell me when you first noticed something was wrong?
It was quite strange because I completed my first year. It's actually a 2-year master's degree course in social work. Completed my first year. I was actually the course rep for my class. Never had an issue before with the university. So when I was getting into my second year, which was my final year, I received an email from the university inviting me to come in for a disciplinary, which was shocking to me. I couldn't understand how, I'd been a good student all along, and now you're inviting me to come in for a disciplinary, and nobody will actually explain anything to me. At that point, I thought, well, if you're not going to explain to me before I come in, unfortunately, I'm not going to come in. So behold, they sent screenshots to me of a conversation which I took part in, just defending marriage, defending biblical marriage, traditional marriage, in which somebody asked me a straight question. It was just as simple as that. And then I responded, and I thought that was it. Somebody asked you a straight question, you responded, and you left the discussion. But a couple of months down the line, then I received that email from the university. A classmate who was my friend on Facebook actually saw the discussion, then reported me to the university.
How did that make you feel?
Well, after knowing why I'm called in, I was absolutely shocked. I think that's the best way I can actually describe it, but it doesn't really describe how I felt, to be honest. I didn't know what to think. It was like, you're fighting against intellectuals, not just one, many of them. I haven't got money. I haven't got anything. So I felt really intimidated. And it felt like this is not a battle I'm going to win. I'm just going to tell them that, well, I stand by what I believe, and that's it. I felt like there is just one view that I'm supposed to believe. And if I don't believe in that view, then I don't belong to the profession, which was really scary, knowing that social work as a profession, when you qualify, you're going to work with people with different views. Why is my own view not represented in the profession? So there were lots of emotions that I was going through, but it was really, really traumatizing.
We've got a lot of supporters at Coalition for Marriage, Felix, who a lot of people are Christians, a lot of people are Jewish, a lot of people are Muslim, a lot of people have no faith at all, but they have this belief that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that definition of marriage describes what only a man and woman can do. So you cannot redefine it, and it cannot be different. And the courts have agreed that that is a respected view in a democracy. You're allowed to have that view. But as I understand it, your tutors felt that that was incompatible with you being a social worker.
Absolutely. They thought my views were discriminatory. They thought, you know, people who come from same-sex relations, I've worked with them before, and I've never, ever discriminated against them. There was more than enough evidence to point to that direction. To me, throughout, it felt like you have to accept that this is what you should think. And because you're not thinking this way, you don't belong to the profession.
It's really good to hear that you found somebody who was willing to help. And a lot of people, of course, don't. And this is the fear that a lot of people have, is that if they express their legitimate beliefs around real marriage, that they could end up being disciplined in work or kicked off their course, their valid beliefs, their true beliefs. And it's good that somebody like you went through what you went through, hard though it must have been, so people can see it's okay to think and feel that way.
And in that process, I came to realize that I wasn't alone. Not only Christian Concern who was supporting me, but I met so many wonderful people, you know, who were ready to support me. You know, there are people who supported me financially. And I was actually shocked because initially I thought it was just me alone. It's only me who believed. But then I realized that, no, there are actually many people. There are actually many people who hold such views.
Is there anything you would have done differently?
That's another wonderful question. I think there are so many ways at looking at that question. First of all, in terms of my beliefs and being able to share what I believe in, I can't change that. But I'll be mindful, just as the judges pointed, I'll be mindful of the language, because if I use language which people don't understand, that is defeating in itself.
What you're saying, what you're believing, if you look at those people who have no faith, but look at the international body of evidence, for example, that says that the lifelong union of a man and a woman to the exclusion of all others is best for that man and that woman. It's best for the children. It's best for society around them in every measure. And it's not marginal. Everyone will say that the body of research says marriage is the best thing. And a marriage between a man and a woman, a child growing up with their biological mum and dad, is by far and away the best outcome. And so to be able to say, I believe that's a good thing, is in no way discriminatory. It's stating logical fact.
That's a truth that we've held on to for so long. And because the society is changing doesn't mean that those of us who still hold those views, we don't belong to this society. You know, every professional, when you go out, you meet people with different views, you know. So to me, I think it's self-defeating that people like myself who believe that marriage should be between a man and a woman, we don't belong to a profession. I think it's self-defeating.
Felix, I'm curious, if you were advising other people, so what advice would you give to them?
Based on my experience, when you're too afraid, then they win. It's as simple as that. Your views matter. They matter because it's the truth. And because we hold this truth, we have to be bold in expressing this truth. I would encourage anybody listening to me. My encouragement is that you're not alone. You are not alone. There are so many people who hold the same views. Be bold in what you believe in. And if you get into trouble, which I pray you shouldn't, know that you're not on your own.
And indeed, you know, we're here for anybody to contact. No matter what your faith, we're here for people of all faiths and none, Coalition for Marriage, if you do find yourself in difficulties. I think you raised a very good point, Felix. Of course, it's always about the way you say things as well. So there's nothing wrong. In fact, it's explicitly legally permitted for you to agree or state that marriage, you believe that marriage is between one man and one woman. But in any working situation, in any college situation, we all have to be respectful. We all have to be kind and generous and gracious. And so actually saying that's not a problem. But if you say it in an attitude which is hateful and disrespectful, well, you're bringing trouble on yourself. Don't be so silly.
Absolutely. You are just echoing the words of the judges in the Court of Appeal. They made that absolutely clear. And I want to reassure anybody listening that, you know, your views are valid. And once you express them in a respectful way.
And I want to cover that thing because a lot of people get get stuck with this. It's not bigotry or hatred, Felix. So if you take table salt, for example, sodium chloride, to redefine table salt as something else doesn't make any sense. It's sodium and chloride, you know, and the fact that that's what it is doesn't mean you hate or you fear sodium or chlorine or any other chemical. It just is that table salt is sodium chloride. That's okay. It doesn't mean you hate or fear anything else. It just is. And the same with marriage. All we're saying is that, in our opinion, marriage is the thing which describes what only one man and one woman coming together and forming this potentially life-giving machine that nothing else can form, and this contract with the future and society around them, which nothing else can do. That's what marriage is. And it doesn't mean you hate or fear or discriminate against anybody else. It's just your firmly held conviction.
Absolutely. I totally and completely agree with you. That is just exactly what it is. I think this whole idea that if you think differently, then you hate certain people. Unfortunately, that is a very dangerous idea in itself.
Felix, you are an absolute inspiration for so many, and you're such a wonderful, kind, gracious, open, accepting, tolerant, loving character. What's next for Felix?
At the moment, I've returned to my course, so I hope to, for this time next year, to graduate and be a social worker.
Well, Felix, I can't tell you what an honor it is for us to talk to you. It's a real privilege. You wouldn't have chosen to go through what you went through, but the fact that you did and that you held your head high in such a graceful way is a real credit to you. Felix, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.